Hello, welcome to my video where I will be answering some questions regarding my experience in teaching. Please tell us about yourself. What are your interests and hobbies? I am Daniel Kabirondongo from Kenya. I am a teacher of biology and chemistry. I have been teaching in Kenya at senior school level for the last 14 years. In my current station, I am also serving as the head of science department and a member of the guidance and counseling committee. Besides, I'm also a coach with the Kenya Science and Engineering Fair, which is a science competition in my country. I'm also a handball coach. Besides, I am a teacher who believes that learning should be owned by the students and that the students should be made to enjoy the learning process as much as possible, because it is through enjoying the learning process that they will be able to achieve excellence. I also believe that every student is capable of learning and achieving the highest excellence if granted the right environment. Besides teaching, I like traveling, reading newspapers, spending some quality time with family, and also trying new recipes. Yes, I can cook. What motivated you to become a teacher for the subject for which you are applying? When I was a student, I used to enjoy science lessons a lot because they involved real life experiences and manipulation of objects and situations. I could connect the fact that we were learning in the sciences with real life very easily. Besides, I used to enjoy learning sciences a lot. I couldn't wait to become a teacher so that I can be able to make learners enjoy the learning process, because it is through enjoyment that they could achieve the highest forms of excellence in the subject. Besides, I also believe that the science subjects, especially biology and chemistry, are the feeder subjects for the medical field. So I decided to become a teacher so that I can be able to nurture young minds who would then enter the medical field and excel and be of benefit to the society, community, country, and the world. That to me would be my small way of changing the world around me. Even today, my lessons always include a component on career guidance where I try to show my students where this biology and chemistry I'm teaching them is likely to take them in future. Tell us about your involvement in extracurricular activities that you could coach or supervise. 1. I have guided and coached students in the Kenya Science and Engineering Fair. This is a science competition for students in Kenya, where students carry out research on various subjects. They present projects, they write reports, they present findings to judges. I have been able to guide students to the regional level of this competition in my country consistently since I was employed by the Teachers Service Commission. Number 2, I am also a handball coach, and I have been able to coach students and make them progress to the regional level of handball competitions. At what subjects have you taught and at which age levels? I have been teaching biology and chemistry for the last 14 years at senior school level in Kenya. That is grade 9 all the way to grade 12. This involves handling learners of ages 14 years to 18 years. How do you prepare to teach your lessons? What do your lesson plans include? When I'm preparing to teach a lesson, first of all, I find out the kind of learners that I'm going to be handling. Are they learners that take time to understand content, or are they learners that understand content quickly? That will inform the method that I'm going to use and the evaluation strategies that I'm going to use during the lesson. I also look at the content that I'm going to teach, because that will also inform the method that I'm going to use, the evaluation strategies that I'm going to use, and also that will inform the materials that I'm going to be requiring for the lesson. My lesson plans will typically include a topic which I'm handling, a subtopic, the objectives and skills which I expect the students to get by the end of the lesson. My lesson plans also includes a lesson outline, outlining all the activities that will be happening throughout the lesson and the order in which they will be happening. My lesson plan will also include every material that I'm going to require during the lesson. For example, digital tools, and also specimen if I'm handling biology, and also reagents and apparatus if I'm handling a practical during the lesson. The lesson plan will also include the lesson notes and the references that I'm going to be using, the textbooks that I'm going to be using in the course of the lesson. The lesson plans will also include the evaluation strategies that I'm going to use, the questions that I'll be asking during the lesson, the lesson activities that the students will be engaging in, and also at the end of the lesson, my lesson plan also includes a reflection, finding out how the lesson went, how the students understood the content based on my evaluation. The reflection will inform my decision of whether to repeat the lesson at a later date or to continue with the next topic if the students have really understood what I was teaching. Talk about 2 strategies or methods you use effectively in your classroom. As a believer in inclusive learning, I typically use differentiated instruction in my classroom. This is where I handle students based on the time that they take to understand the content. If students take a lot of time to understand content, I group them in one group. Then the ones who take less time, I put them in another group, such that when I give evaluation, when I give questions, I'll be giving different questions to the 2 groups of students. I also use different teaching methods for the 2 groups of students. I also give more time to the students that require more time to understand the content. I also use peer teaching, where I pair up students, whereby after explaining a concept, I pair up the students, they explain the content to each other. In the course of explaining to each other, they're able to identify gray areas or problem areas. Then I encourage them to raise them with me. I address them, and then this enhances proper understanding by the students. When someone enters your classroom, describe the learning activities in which the students are engaged in. As I said earlier, I like making the students to own the lesson and to enjoy the learning process as much as the outcome of the lesson. To this end, as a visitor to my classroom will find my students fully engaged in experiments, practicals. My students will also be handling realia and specimen for biology lessons, and my students will also be observing videos and animations on projectors, which I normally project for them. My students will also be typically filling crossword puzzles on the concepts that I have just explained to them. So my lessons are always engaging for the learners. What methods do you use to evaluate your students' progress? I use formative and summative evaluation. Formative evaluation is where I give students oral questions in the course of the lesson, or I give students written questions at the end of the lesson. I also give students assignments at the end of the lesson. Summative evaluation typically includes giving students questions at the end of a topic, or questions at the end of a subtopic, or giving students random assessment tests and also continuous assessment tests. I also give students a test at the end of the term to test their understanding. If you use technology in your teaching, describe how you incorporate it into your teaching. Well, as a 21st century teacher, I believe in using technology in teaching the sciences. To this end, I normally use projectors to project videos and animations to my students when I'm teaching them. Number two, I also use Google Classrooms to increase learner access to learning materials when the students are on school holidays. Number three, I also use photocopiers to produce materials like photographs of specimens for the students when I'm handling biology lessons. Describe any experiences you have with a smart board. To be honest, I have not been able to use a smart board in teaching because we don't have any in our school. However, in the course of collaborating with other teachers in neighboring schools, I have been able to interact with smart boards, and I look forward to using the same in actual classroom teaching. If you have students who are noisy or non-attentive, share ways you regain their attention without interrupting the lesson. If I encounter disruptive students, I normally keep quiet for a minute. That way, I'm able to capture the attention of the disruptive students, and typically they'll just keep quiet and regain their attention to the class, to the lesson that I'm teaching. However, if the misbehavior persists, I normally give the rest of the students some tasks to undertake. Then the students that are noisy or disruptive, I call them aside and hold a conference with them. That way, I'm able to remind them the expectations and rules that I have set for them in the class, and then I'm able to get them back on board. Describe the most difficult problem you have had to deal with as a teacher, and how did you resolve this problem? My most difficult problem that I have ever encountered when I'm teaching is when I was transferred from a school where students had a lot of respect and regard for teachers to a school where students were really disruptive and indisciplined and disrespectful. And I took time to adapt to the new environment. However, when I held a student conference with my students, I was able to outline to them clear rules and routines that I needed to be followed in my lessons. Then I was able to establish to them, to explain to them the consequences of not following those clear rules. That way, I was able to win the students to my side. Besides, I also talked to them about the careers that I expect them to land in as a result of studying biology and chemistry. That encouraged them, that captured their attention. And I was able, by making my lessons as interesting and enjoyable as possible and engaging to the students, I was able to create my own environment, my own microclimate within my own class, even in the backdrop of a very indisciplined school environment. Give an example to show that you are a flexible person and that you can make changes to your teaching and methods. There is one time that I went to class. I wanted students to undertake a project whereby they were to make models demonstrating the process of mitosis. I went to class. I wanted them to improvise, use some cartons, use some manila, cuttings of manila to represent chromosomes. However, the students stopped me in my tracks. They told me, Mwalimu, I don't think this is engaging enough. We need to use sticks, and then we paint them with different colors. That will be more engaging, and that will make the lesson to stick more and the content to stick more in our minds. And I changed my strategy because of what the students had told me. So I'm a very adaptable teacher. I like adventures, I like new challenges, and I am likely to be very successful in any classroom environment. Thank you very much. That marks the end of my video.